Hola, my friends. Welcome back to A Life I Choose, the place to be to design your life so you can thrive. Today's video is a Q&A. So on my birthday, I went on my Insta stories and I said, hey. You remember how excited I was on my birthday. I was like, hey. I have 33 years of wisdom. So if you would like to pick my brain and my heart, you can go for it and ask me anything. So you guys sent me some really lovely questions. I've picked the themes that came out most and my favorites. And I haven't prepared my answers. I haven't thought about my answers because I'd really like for this video to feel conversational. And I want it to just come out naturally. So it's not going to be perfect. And I'm probably going to watch it back at some point and think, oh, I should have said this, or I should have said that, or whatever. I just want it to be like us having a discussion like you're asking me right here, right now. First question was, how do you manage to be so positive and radiate so much positive energy in such times? By the way, I write everything down. Well, first of all, thank you for seeing me as radiating positive energy. That's lovely, because actually one of my daily affirmations is I am full of love and I emanate it. So I actually see myself like radiating positive energy. I think it's a few things. So one, it's the fact that I've been working on my mindset for so many years now. I've been practicing resiliency for so many years and it's become ingrained in me. I've integrated it. It's not something that I'm trying to learn, or it's not just something that I aspire to be. It's something that I practice and I've practiced. And resiliency, bouncing back, resourcefulness, this is my philosophy. It's my way of life. And also, I think another thing is that whilst, there are, certain practices that I do as a practice of resiliency, like one is therapy, which I've been doing for years. The other is coaching, which I've been doing for years. I am a therapist and a coach. And so, all good therapists and coach have their own therapists and coaches and mentors because we want to be challenged and we want to continue growing and continue learning. That's the best way that we can serve our clients. This is what I do. Most definitely therapy made a massive difference to my life. And then coaching made a massive difference, and it still does. I still take my emotional stuff to my therapist and I take my goal-driven stuff to my coach. And since I am a therapist and a coach, I do both because I think that they so serve each other. This is why I wanted to be able to bring both to my clients. And so this has really, really helped me. It helps me to process where I am, no matter where I am, because I'm not positive all the time. It might seem like I'm positive all the time. And let's say I'm positive 80% of the time. I think that's fair. But 20% of the time I'm not. And, I have my days where I wake up in a terrible mood, or I have my days when Pete and I get into an argument that's completely unexpected and that throws me off. Or, I have my days where old stuff comes up for me, like especially at the moment with, we're all in social isolation. It's hard, it's tough. Everyone is more in fight or flight than normal. And so, more emotional stuff is at the surface. More of our old traumas are at the surface. So, this affects me as well. Like I have my days, I have my hours, I have my moments. So no, I'm not always positive. But I have learned to ride the wave better. When I was younger, I was extremely emotional, and I still am emotional. I'm a very emotional person, and I like that about myself. Like I use my emotions in my work, like as in one of the ways that I'm able to be with my clients, to help my clients, is by really tapping into what they're experiencing emotionally, because my job is not to fix their situation, it's to connect and to understand. And when I understand and I support and I hold and occasionally challenge, the client gets in touch with their resourcefulness and they come up with the solution and they grow and they, build upon their own strength. And that's the beauty of it. So my emotions, I would never ever want to get rid of. But when I was younger, coping with my emotions was tougher because I didn't know how. I hadn't done as much therapy. I hadn't studied what I've studied. And so it was tough. Like, it was really tough. And I've had depression in the past. I've had periods of really intense anxiety. I've been diagnosed with fibromyalgia, a chronic condition. So there was a time when, like, I was just in agony all the time for a few years. I had eating disorders in my teens. So I've been through a lot, and it's come out in different ways. So I know that I'm kind of I'm taking the long way around. This might end up being a really long video, but basically the point is I'm not always positive, but the difference now in comparison to when I was younger is that I've learned that my emotions are actually my inner compass. Whereas when I was younger, I would experience, intense sadness or anxiety or, anger or jealousy, and I would try to either run away from it or act out from it or whatever. Now I can see my emotions. And although occasionally I still, I'll go into it or whatever, I can bounce back quickly and I can create the distance and I can say, okay, I'm feeling this. Let me explore that. Let me see what it's telling me. Because every time I have an emotional experience that is taking me off balance, it's just my body, my mind, and my soul's way of telling me, hey, you're out of balance, something needs to shift. And if I don't pay attention to that, I remain out of balance and I become more and more and more imbalanced. And then that has a ripple effect on, the way I am in my business and the way I am in my relationships and everything. But when I take the time to tune in and I listen to my need, okay, so for example, I'm in touch with a lot of shame, or I'm in touch with the feeling of not being enough, and this is resonating in my work or in my, I'm feeling it, I'm noticing it come up here and I'm noticing it come up when I look in the mirror or whatever. I stay with it and I bring acknowledgement to it and I say, okay, I look at the pattern and I say, okay, I can't beat this out of me. Very often that is the temptation, let's just beat this out of me and pretend it doesn't exist. You can't beat emotions out of a person. You can't do it to another person. You can't do it to yourself. You can't be stop feeling this way, or I'm so frustrated with you for feeling this way, just stop it. It doesn't work like that. The only way to metabolize an emotion, so to metabolize, to digest it, to break it apart, to move past it, is to bring acknowledgement and acceptance and compassion to it. So nowadays, when I get into a funk, which happens, I basically I explore it. I write it down. For me, I'm pointing there because there's my journal right there. And this morning I spent an hour, because I needed to. I was in a bit of an emotional funk, and I wrote everything down. I brought compassion. I acknowledged where I was, and then I supported myself and I said, okay, what do I need to move forward? What will support me right now in the kindest way possible, where I'm moving from a space of, okay, I'm here, I'm out of balance, and it's okay, I will get to where I want to be, instead of I'm out of balance and I suck because of it, because I'm not going to grow. I'm just going to remain out of balance if I do that. So I suppose that's how I managed to stay positive. I managed to stay positive by being a friend to myself, by being kind to myself, and by, practicing resiliency and resourcefulness. I'm practicing things like gratitude and meditation and yoga and moving my body. Moving my body makes a huge difference. If I sit all day, there's no way in hell I'm going to be positive because I'm going to feel like shit, But if I move my body, if I put on music sometimes, if I watch a movie, if I connect with the people I love and don't pretend that I'm an island and I'm in control of everything and I need to be on top of everything, which sometimes I do. But when I connect with people, when I'm real with my friends and I tell them where I am and I speak to the people I love, when I take care of myself, then I'm positive, It's when I give myself a hard time that I have a harder time. But yeah, when I take care of myself and I treat myself like I would a friend, then Yeah. And I think the second part of your question was, how do I manage to radiate so much positive energy in such times? So in these times, which is a really good question. And I think it's the same thing, just bringing the self-care. Like, self-care comes first. And I don't mean this in a selfish way, like, fuck everyone else, I'm taking care of myself, because community is vital. We're all connected. But what I mean is, like, my state, my energetic state, my emotional state, my spiritual state, that's where everything else comes from. That's where the work comes from with my clients. That's where business strategy comes from. That's where the quality of my relationship comes from. I can't look for happiness in my husband. I have to bring it. Like, I can't demand from him to bring, a level of happiness. I need to bring it. I need to bring the love. I need to bring the sensuality. I need to bring the joy. I need to, you know what I mean? So, like, yeah, taking care of myself first. Second question is, what do you want to be remembered for? I like this question a lot. And in fact, I think that one day I will sit down and I will journal my answer to this question, because it's a beautiful question. I had a moment with a client recently where the client told me something like, I'm feeling so empowered and I don't remember feeling this way, or this is so different to how I usually feel. And I could see it in my client, and I could see them sitting differently. I could see there was a different energy in their eyes. There was a different level of trust in themselves and their ability to move forward and to move their life in the direction they wanted to. And it was so different to how they were, just a few sessions ago. This is what I live for. Like, in that moment, I experienced like such an emotional shift within me, because I experienced immense joy for this person, and I experienced that every time a client has a moment like this. I suppose what I want to be remembered for is helping people to achieve an authentically fulfilling and joyful life. That it's not about, like, that they achieved success, like, because big deal, you can achieve success, but if it's not fulfilling, if it's not in alignment with your purpose, then what the fuck did you do with your life? Like, I say this a bit judgmentally, but the truth is, like, I get that everybody's on a different journey in this life, and some people are on that path. But what I mean is, like, I want to be remembered for helping people to get in touch with themselves and really listening to themselves, like, kind of teaching them how to quieten the noise, quieten the expectation, quieten the fear, so that they can tune in with their truth, with their hearts, quieten the ego, tune in with their hearts, so that they can align with their higher purpose, this spiritual sense, and do the work that they were born to do, in this moment. And our purposes shift, as we grow older and as we're in touch with different things. So since this is what brings me most joy, this is what I want to be remembered for. This is my purpose. This is, like, what I love to do. So yes, I want to be remembered for that, and also for love. I want to be remembered as somebody who loved first, in the sense that love is one of my highest values. Love, freedom are definitely, like, my highest values. So empathy, compassion. I want to be remembered for these things. So the third question is, what is one thing you will never do again? And I'm thinking, one thing I will never do again. Okay, so the thing that's popping to my mind, the most obvious to me, is something that I'm not too keen to speak about on the internet, because I'm worried about it being taken wrongly. I'm going to speak about it because I think that it could be helpful. At the same time, I wouldn't like it to be taken in the wrong way. So one thing I will never do again is recreational drugs. I used to smoke a lot of weed when I was a teenager, and I had tried a couple of other drugs again when I was a teenager. For me, the weed was a lot about belonging to my peer group. My peer group smoked a lot of weed. I actually hated smoking weed, believe it or not, because it made me extremely paranoid. But I did it because I wanted to fit in. I wanted to like belong, which it wasn't. It was just fitting in. And then like the other sort of recreational drugs that I tried was mostly fueled by curiosity. So at the time I read a lot of books by Irvine Welsh, an amazing Scottish writer. I still like his books. And a lot of them were to do with addiction. And I found it so interesting. I found these characters so interesting, and I found the drugs so interesting. I was so curious about them. And so what I would do is I would research the drugs online. I would look them up. I would study, okay, when couldn't you expect to come up? When can you expect to come down? What kind of situation can you expect to experience? What could go wrong? How can you prepare yourself for all of this? And then I would try the drug once and experience it, and then I would never do it again. And that's the way that I did it when I was a teenager. And basically, for me, it was basically being a scientist. I was researching it. I don't regret having done that because it did teach me a lot about drugs, but I would never do it again because I've worked so hard on my mental state, and I've worked so much on choosing my mental state, on choosing, how I want to be, like what emotional state I want to be in, what relationship state I want to be in, what financial state I want to be in, like I've worked so hard on many different parts of my life that to me, like taking drugs is just completely unnecessary, and it actually derails me. It would, I imagine, derail me from achieving who I want to be. Like there are some people who I knew back when I was a teenager and I was experimenting in this way, who never stopped the drugs. And now, now in our 30s, you can see the impact it's having on their psyches. What happens with drugs is it alters reality for you. It takes you away from reality. We already have difficulty seeing things as they are because of all our preconditioning. Why would you go and make it even harder for yourself to stay with reality by fucking up your reality with all these drugs? Like that's the way I see it. And it's not a judgment to anyone, because I have friends who still enjoy recreational drugs, and that's cool. That's their thing. And it's not cool. I don't think it's cool. But what I mean is, each to their own, like, kind of, if you enjoy it from time to time, that's cool for you. And if they enjoy it from time to time, that's fine. Like at the end of the day, like I just have myself to answer to, and I never want to lose my mental focus, my mental state. Like I remember taking ecstasy, for example, and I remember that the one time that I took it, and I remember how it made me feel confident in myself, and it made me feel in love with myself, and it made me feel in love with the person who I was with. And rather than depending on the drug to do that for me, what I did actually was I went to my therapist and I spoke to her about it, about the experience, and I started to integrate that sense of love for myself, and I started to integrate that sense of confidence and that sense of love for others, so that I didn't need the drug to do it for me. So yeah, I hope that in a long-winded way that answered the question of what I'd never do again. I hope that it made sense, and I hope that it doesn't encourage anyone to go and do drugs. And also, if you like your weed, that's your cup of tea, there's no judgment here. It's not like this is just me. I'm speaking for me. The fourth question is, were you always so confident? If not, what advice do you have for people suffering with low self-confidence? Good question. Were you always so confident? No, not at all. Fuck no. In fact, I have a video on my YouTube channel, which I'll link below, called How to Not Suck at Networking. And I had given this talk because I so lacked self-confidence. And when I was developing a life I choose, I needed to figure out how to put myself out there. Because if you don't put yourself out there, you can have the most amazing service, but if people don't know about it, then very few are going to benefit from it. So I needed to learn to put myself out there. But like, I hated networking events. I barely liked meeting up with friends, to be honest, because I lacked so much self-confidence. And you know, you can speak to some people who I knew when I was a teenager, and they'll tell you, like, Emma sat in a room and she said nothing. You know, so she said nothing for hours, like, because I didn't have self-confidence. I developed confidence by, one, understanding myself better and like doing therapy and healing from certain old wounds and noticing limiting beliefs that I had about myself and choosing to replace them with much more empowering, supportive beliefs. And also by challenging myself to do the things that scared me bit by bit. And so like by this I mean, for example, it ranged from simple stuff to more complicated stuff, like simple stuff like calling and ordering pizza, or more complicated stuff like when I was 18 I moved to Scotland. I didn't know anyone, I had to figure stuff out on my own. When I was 25, I remember I hadn't traveled alone for a long time. I said, okay, I'm going away again. That was another thing, putting myself out of my comfort zone, going to networking events even though I didn't feel like them, making YouTube videos even though I used to be shit scared of them, and you know, like I worried about how I was coming across or whatever. So basically, I built confidence by doing the things I was scared of and being okay with it not being perfect. Yeah, like, I mean, I still get nervous to talk in public. Like, I get excited, you know, like I love it. It gives me a total thrill, but I love it because it's a challenge. You know, it's so rewarding because it's a challenge. It's not rewarding because it's easy. If it were easy, it wouldn't be that rewarding. So I challenge myself to do it, you know. So yeah, I suppose for me, confidence built because I challenged myself to do things that I felt were in alignment with who I wanted to become. And, you know, confidence is a muscle. It's not something that you have or you don't. It's something that you build with consistent practice over time. So just like going to the gym or doing coaching and therapy, mindset training, you need consistency, you need repetition. It's not something that you do once, you know, and then you drop it and you got your muscles. Like, you know, confidence is a practice. You train yourself, and you train yourself by doing the things that scare you. You don't use anxiety as an excuse. You don't use fear as an excuse. You don't use lack of knowledge as an excuse. You're just like, I'm doing it. And sometimes you jump and it's just like, like, you know, and sometimes you take a little step and it's just like, oh, okay, it wasn't that bad. And then you take another step and then you take another step, you know. So that's how I built confidence. And so my advice for you is take it step by step. Do the things that scare you. Get out there. Let yourself be seen. Don't expect everyone to like you, and be okay with the fact that there are going to be people who don't like you, and that's okay. And be okay with making mistakes. You have to be your own best friend in this life. And what I'm saying is not like no one else is your friend and you can't trust anyone else. That's not what I'm saying. Like, you can trust lots of people. We all have amazing friends. You can have, you know, always have good mentors. But what I'm saying is, don't abandon yourself for fucking up. Like, life is a series of mistakes. We make one mistake after another, after another, after another. And if you're growing and you're doing new things, you're gonna fuck it up. Anything that you do for the first time, you're gonna make mistakes, and it's not all gonna be disastrous, and it's okay. And we learn from our mistakes. So there has to be space for failure. There has to be, we have to be okay with not winning all the time, with putting ourselves out there, not winning, and for people to be able to see that. And some people are going to judge you for it because they need that to feel better about themselves temporarily. And other people are just going to be like, good on you for trying, like, good on you for going. But the point is, you don't leave your self-worth in other people's hands. You leave it in your own. You don't look for other people to go and say, like, oh, good on you. Like, no, you say that to yourself, like, good on you, I'm proud of you, well done, you made a difference in that person's life, or you took that step even though it scared you, and look what it led to, well done. I included the last question. My sister sent me this. She said, who is your favorite sibling? It ain't you, Lulu. It ain't you. I'm joking. I love you, my Lulu. Forever and ever and ever, I love you. You're my favorite. And Andrew is also my favorite. So I guess I like you both. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a like to let me know that you liked it, so that I can know to make more videos like this. Also, if you want to be even clearer with me, please leave a comment in the comment section below and just let me know, what did you like about this video? Even tips, give me advice if there's anything you think I can improve on. And ask me more questions if you'd like me to make more videos like this, anything that you'd like me to know, and anything that resonated with you. I really thank you for your time and for still being here. And if you haven't subscribed already, please do. And I'll see you in the next one. I'm sending you so much love and peace and joyfulness and exploration and growth. Bye.